Let me start off with my favorite Dhammapada verse, verse number 182, which says that rare is the birth as a human. Okay, so all of us are born as human. So we are very blessed to be born as humans because humans, we can do a lot of things. Of course, sometimes we do think of being born as devas. Okay, but yeah, actually the human birth is actually more superior. That's why the Bodhisattva was born as a human before he, in his last life, before he became enlightened. Okay. The second line which says, heart is the life of mortals. Now, to be a human is not easy, okay, because we are all mortals. Our lifespan is limited. Today, lifespan is about 76 years. And we have to face a lot of hardship in our life, especially now during the pandemic. Okay, people are just fighting to survive. And of course, there is this fear and worry of having COVID, which may lead to even death. Okay, so it is not easy to live as a mortal. Okay? But even though life is hard, okay, there is a solution to this hardship or suffering that we undergo in our life. Okay? So one of the things that we can do is to listen to the Dhamma, okay, and practice the Dhamma. But however, the Buddha also said that heart is the hearing of supplying truth. Now, even though nowadays it's easy for you to access to Dhamma through Zoom, okay, you don't even have to get out of your house, but you can click on, through the comfort of the home, any Dhamma talks that you wish to hear. But again, the Buddha said heart is hearing of the supplying truth, meaning it's not easy to hear from good teachers, okay, because there are so many teachers, okay, but sometimes we may get the wrong teaching, okay. So it's important for us to actually look for the real truth. Okay. So some people, even though we have Dhamma sessions every Sunday, but you can imagine how many people tune up to the Zoom to listen to the Dhamma. Okay? The numbers are small compared to the people, okay, around the world. So to be able to have this blessing, okay, of hearing the Dhamma is important. And of course, rare is the appearance of the Buddha, because without the Buddha, you would not have this truth. Now, the Buddha existed 2,500 years ago, and it's important that we understand, okay, who the Buddha is, what his enlightenment is, so that we can also practice the Dhamma accordingly. Now, the Buddha is an enlightened being, okay, and during his enlightenment, three things happened. One, he could recollect his past lives. He could also recollect the past life of other beings, and he eradicated all defilements and understood the truth, the Four Noble Truth. Now, the last point is very important. That is where our topic is about, okay? The path to liberation. The path to liberation is actually the path out of samsara, out of suffering. And it's important for us to know what is this Four Noble Truth taught by the Buddha. So when the Buddha became enlightened, initially he was quite reluctant to teach the Dhamma, because he found that the Dhamma is so profound, okay? And it's actually against the stream, because people may not even understand what he's trying to teach, Yeah. But there was one Brahma called Brahma Sahampati. Okay? When he knew that the Buddha don't want to teach the Dhamma, he approached the Buddha and pleaded with him to teach the Dhamma so that other beings can understand and become enlightened as well. So the Buddha surveyed the world with the eye of an awakened one. He saw beings with little dust in their eyes, and those with much, those with keen faculties, and those with dull, those with good attributes, and those with bad, those easy to teach, and those hard to teach, seeing disgrace and danger in the other world. So when he surveyed the world, he could see that there are still beings, with little dust in their eyes. Okay? Beings who are willing to listen, to practice, and also have the capacity to be enlightened. Okay? So it is, the analogy given by the Buddha is that just like in a pond of blue, red, or white lotuses, some lotuses born and growing in the water, some are immersed in the water without rising up from the water. So when the lotus grow from the mud, okay, some are still in the water, okay. Some might stand at even level with the water. That means they are almost at the surface of the water, but it's still under the water. While some might rise up from the water and stand without being smeared by water. So some, the butt is already up in the water, and what they need is sunlight, okay, a bit of warmth to open and blossom. Okay. So the Buddha found that there are beings, there are beings who can rise above the water, okay, and with some guidance, okay, they will be able to bloom or become enlightened. Okay. So we are at different stages. Some of us are below the water. Some of us are still down, not even at the surface. Okay, but there are some who are above the water. For example, the people like Venerable Sariputta. Okay, he's already above the water, and he just needs some words, to enlighten him. So Sariputta heard from the Venerable Asaji only 4 lines, and he became a Sotapanna. Now, what did the Buddha teach actually? Okay, the first sermon taught by the Buddha is very important. In fact, it is the whole of the Buddhist teachings that we can find. Okay. Of course, there are many other suttas, 84,000 suttas taught by the Buddha, but everything points back to this Four Noble Truths. Okay. So it's important for us to understand this Four Noble Truths and see how, okay, we can practice and follow this Four Noble Truths. Okay. So the first truth is talks about suffering. There is suffering in this life. Okay. There is a cause of suffering, there's a cessation of suffering, and there's a path leading to the end of suffering. And what did the Buddha mean by this? Now, the first truth is actually referring to birth. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are all suffering. Union with what is displeasing is suffering. Separation of what is pleasing is suffering. Not getting what one wants is suffering. And in brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. So the Buddha said that as long as there is birth, there's suffering. Okay, because once there is birth, there's old age, sickness, and death. Okay. And you find that people are suffering because they have this body. The body wants things that is pleasurable, and if you don't get things that are pleasurable, okay, then you suffer. Right? You also suffer when you get things that you do not like. So not only getting what you want, but you get what you don't want. Yeah? And to support this body is not easy. Okay? Everybody have to go and work because they need to earn money, okay, to support this body, because the body needs to be fed. Okay? People die of hunger. Okay? You may not think about hunger, because you have enough to eat, enough to support your body with food. But there are a lot of people, out there in the world that are suffering from hunger, okay, because of different conditions. Okay, some because they are too poor, some because of famine, some because of natural disasters. Okay, all these causes suffering. Okay, in fact, hunger is a disease. Okay, because you can die of hunger. Not only from disease like COVID and heart attack or cancer, people can also die of hunger. So with this body, it comes along the suffering of aging, sickness, and of course, death. So now how do we overcome this suffering? Okay. So before the Buddha talks about overcoming suffering, he tells us there's a cause of suffering. So the second truth is the noble truth of the origin of suffering, that is craving, which leads to rebirth accompanied by delight and lust. Seeking delight here and there, that is craving for sense pleasures, craving for existence, and craving for extermination. So these three types of craving actually are the causes of suffering. Okay? Craving for sensual pleasure, okay? Craving for becoming, and craving for non-becoming. So there's some people who are very fed up of life, okay? They decided to take the life. That is called craving for non-becoming. But taking away one's life by killing oneself or committing suicide does not solve the problem. There is still craving, okay? It's just that you're running out of the problem or the suffering that you are going through. So these three types of craving is the cause of the suffering. But the Buddha did not stop there. If the Buddha has stopped at the first and second noble truth, then we will say that Buddhism is very pessimistic. Okay? But he says that there is a way to end the suffering. So the third truth says that it is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, and non-reliance on it. So it's very simple. Okay? Once you know the cause of suffering, if you take away the cause of suffering, then there's the end of suffering. So there is a cessation if you take away the cause. And how do we do that? It's through the fourth noble truth. And this, the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering, is the noble eightfold path, that is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Okay? So the Buddha says that if you follow this noble eightfold path, it will lead you to the end of suffering, that is liberation. So this is the path that actually leads human beings or any other beings out of the cycle of birth and rebirth. Now, what can we learn from these four truths? Okay, so as a Buddhist, okay, we should understand the first truth well. Okay, the first noble truth is to be understood. Okay, is to be understood that there is suffering in life. Okay, not life is suffering. Okay, because if you're talking suffering, those people, have what they want, who have a good life, they will not agree with you. Okay? But if you look at old age, sickness, and death, then it is a universal suffering which affects everybody, whether you're rich or poor, okay, famous or infamous, whatever country you're in, Okay, whatever race you are, you are still subject to the universal suffering of old age, sickness, and death. Nobody can run away from that. Okay? Then there's a second noble truth, which is to be abandoned. So once you know the cause, you try to abandon the cause of suffering. Okay? The third noble truth is to be realized. That means you work towards the realization by abandoning the cause. And finally, the fourth one is to be developed. Okay? So it's no point having a path, shown by the Buddha, but if it's not developed or it's not practiced, then you will not reach the destination. So what is this path of liberation? Okay? Now, this path of liberation is sometimes called the noble path, middle path, and also the noble eightfold path. Okay? It's called noble because once you practice it, it will lead you to the stage of being a noble being. Being a noble being means you have attained to one of the 4 stages of sainthood. And the path is middle because it avoids the two extreme. Okay? You don't have to torture yourself to practice. That means you go through hard torturing the body. Okay, like what the Buddha did before he became enlightened. He was with the 5 ascetics, and he fasted. He didn't eat. He tortured the body in a hope that these penances, okay, will purify his mind. But he found that it is not. It's not a useful way of practice. And the other extreme is the extreme of sensual pleasure. Remember when he was a prince, okay, he was given all the luxuries. He was given 3 palaces, one for the hot season, one for the cold season, and one for the rainy season. He has all the sensual pleasures that he can have, okay, all the entertainment and good food, whatever he wants, he can have it. But he found that this does not help him in his spiritual path. So it is called the middle path because it avoids these 2 extremes. Okay, neither do we indulge in sensual pleasure or we torture the body in order to practice. We don't have to do that. And it's a gradual path because there's no such thing as instant enlightenment. Okay, you can ask somebody to cook for you. You can ask people to do work for you. Okay, you can ask people to drive you around. Okay, but you cannot ask somebody to practice for you. Okay. So it is something that you have to do it yourself and do it gradually. Okay? Unless you are somebody like Sariputta, okay, who has all the paramis of his previous practice. He has great wisdom and he was able to understand the Dhamma in a short period of time. Whereas for most people, because we have gone through long cycles of birth and death, we have accumulated a lot of defilements in our mind. So it takes time, okay, for people to eradicate, okay, their defilements slowly. Okay? And this path shown by the Buddha is not a theoretical path. Okay, it is a path that is based on his enlightenment. And it proceeds towards enlightenment. Okay. So it's important for us to understand that this is a real path that has been practiced not only by the Buddha but also by his disciples. Now the Noble Eightfold Path consists of 8 factors, and they're divided into 3 sections. Normally we group them under Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, or morality, mental culture, and wisdom. Okay. The 3 factors under Sila, morality, is right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Under Samadhi is right concentration, right mindfulness, and right effort. And under Panya is wisdom, is right understanding and right thought. Okay. So now let us go through each one of them. Okay, let's start off with wisdom. Okay, even wisdom is at the top. Okay, but before one can practice, one needs some knowledge. Okay, knowledge of the teaching before one can practice. You cannot go into practice without knowing what to practice. Okay, so the first level of wisdom that we can obtain is through wisdom through hearing. Okay, like what you're doing now, you're listening to the Dhamma, and through listening we get information. Right? Information of the various suttas of how we should practice, what are the causes that give rise to happiness, what are the causes that give rise to downfall or unwholesome reactions, results. Okay? So if we know this, what is good and what is bad, then only then we can practice. Okay? Then the second level of wisdom is through Cinta Maya Panya, wisdom derived from thinking and reasoning. Now, after listening to Dhamma talk, usually you have to think about it, reflect on it, and see whether it's logical, reasonable, or sensible. Okay? We do not accept things that are unreasonable. Okay? Nowadays, there are many teachings in the world, and some may be good, some may not be good. So we have to investigate. And the third level of wisdom is through meditation, okay, to develop the the knowledge or the insight knowledge through practical experience. Right. So now wisdom has two factors, which is divided into right understanding and right thought. Okay. So right understanding or samadhi has is to get knowledge. Okay, is to understand the Four Noble Truth, which I've explained earlier. Understand the law of karma, because we are all subject to law of karma. It's important for us to know what is karma. Okay? Because if you don't understand the law of karma, then people will not have fear or shame. Okay, because if people do not feel that bad results give bad actions give bad results, then they will continue to do bad things. Okay? If you don't have faith that good actions will give you good results, okay, you will not do merits. Okay? So it's important for us to understand this law of karma. Now, other suttas like Mangala Sutta, Karaniyam Metta Sutta, Maha Satipatthana Sutta, important suttas for us to know. And through this understanding, okay, we are able to develop the Sutta Maya Panya, the Cinta Maya Panya, and Bhavana Maya Panya. Okay. And through meditation, we will be able to understand how the mind and body works. Okay. And so that we can develop our insight knowledge. Mm-hmm. Now, the second factor is right thought or Sammasankappa, which has three types, which is the thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of goodwill or loving kindness, and thoughts of harmlessness or compassion. So the renunciation does not mean that you become a monk or a nun. Okay, it's a simple renunciation. Okay, like actually when you observe the precepts, you're actually renouncing certain kind of pleasure by practicing restraint in the senses. Okay, for example, if you don't kill, okay, then you are reducing the defilement of greed or hatred. Okay. So when people observe the precept, for example, the first precept of non-killing, okay, you try to avoid taking life of other beings. Okay? So there is a restraint, okay, in your actions to respect the life of other beings. Okay? Some people they renounce eating meat, okay, because they have compassion and they respect, other beings, and they avoid, killing. Then you have thoughts of loving kindness. Okay? So it's good for us to practice loving kindness to people that we meet, not necessarily the people that we like only, but also people that we don't like. This is to open the heart, actually. Loving kindness opens the heart so that we can live in harmony with people, with harmony with things that we do not like. Okay. So sometimes in for example, in a family, different, even among siblings, they have different characters, and we have to practice loving kindness in order to live in harmony. Okay. Then the third right thought is harmlessness or compassion. Compassion means, again, respecting life and do not cause more harm to other people. Okay. So you for those who can see a lot of suffering, they would like to help, especially now during the COVID, there are many opportunities to do dana. Okay. And it is through compassion that people do charity or generous acts of generosity to help those who are suffering. Now the third, the next group of factors, okay, in the Noble Eightfold Path is right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These basically are the precepts. Okay, right speech is free speech, which are free from lying, gossip, frivolous talks, okay, and divisive talks. Okay, so in the practice of right speech, we also would like to our speech to have these three qualities. That is truthfulness, beneficial, and pleasant. So it's better for us to, if we want to speak, it should have these three qualities, okay, rather than a speech that are always hurtful or frivolous or not useful. Right action. Okay. Now, right action actually constitutes the other four precepts: abstaining from killing, first precept; second precept of stealing; third precept of unskillful actions of sexual misconduct and intoxicants. Okay. So these are ways to reduce our defilements, okay, of greed, hatred, delusion. Killing is also usually associated with greed, hatred, okay, delusion. Stealing is more on greed. Skillful actions is also on greed in the form of lust. Intoxicants is also greed, okay, and mainly delusion, okay, because intoxicants will lead to heedlessness. And the next factor is right livelihood, which is what we call the certain livelihood that the Buddha forbid his followers to practice. Okay, for example, in dealing with weapons, dealing with drugs and intoxicants, breeding animals for slaughter, slavery, and prostitution. Okay. So these are the various things, profession that we should avoid. Okay. Now, in this context, also we should actually do work that avoid bringing suffering to others. Okay. So this is very important, because if we have to work, but we have to break the precepts every day, okay, then it's not a good livelihood. Okay. And the last group of factors is under mental culture, which is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Now, right effort is fourfold: avoiding arising of evil, overcoming evil that's already arisen, arousing wholesome actions that have already arisen, maintaining wholesome states that have arisen. Okay. So if we understand the law of karma, okay, it is important for us to avoid evil, because evil deeds leads to evil results, okay, unwholesome results. And we should do more good deeds, that is, wholesome actions, okay, giving wholesome results. So in summary, is to do good, to avoid evil, to do good, and also to purify the mind. In the process, we will purify the mind by doing good. The next factor is sati, samasati, or right mindfulness. Sati is defined as remembering to be with the object or to be with the present object. And this is the definition of sati. Okay, so it is awareness of the present moment, of knowing what you are doing, okay, either mentally or physically. Okay, so in order to practice the precepts, you also need mindfulness. You got to be mindful of your body actions. You got to be mindful of your mental intentions. Okay, because the precepts are formulated in such a way that you observe the precept through your own initiative. That means you do it voluntarily. Okay, so intention is very important. Okay, when we do something, if the intention is bad, then the consequences or the result will be unwholesome. Okay, so mindfulness leads to clear comprehension. Okay, and right effort are cultivated through meditation. So this quality of mindfulness is very important in meditation, where we use this quality to be mindful, okay? Be mindful of certain objects, okay? And in the Satipatthana Sutta, okay, the Buddha introduced this mindfulness of the four foundation. There is a body, feeling, mind, and reality, or the Dhamma. Okay, so those who are familiar with meditation, okay, these are objects, okay, where we can be mindful of, and through the practice of this mindfulness, we are able to develop concentration, which is the last factor in the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, right concentration is the quality of the mind to be with the object or to develop one-pointedness. So in meditation, through the practice of mindfulness, you develop samadhi, you develop the stillness of mind, so that your mind becomes calm, peaceful, and happy. Okay. Now, this is only one aspect of meditation, that is to attain to the state of samadhi. But there is also the other aspects of meditation, is to develop the wisdom. Okay. But before you can develop wisdom, you need samadhi. Okay. So concentration develops wholesome states of mind. It brings tranquility, brings calmness and peace, helps to penetrate higher states of mind. And samadhi actually arises through the cultivation of mindfulness, clear comprehension, and right effort. So samadhi is actually a result, okay, a result of the cultivation of mindfulness and right effort, the earlier two factors. Okay? And when your mind is in samadhi, okay, you have the absence of the five hindrances of sensual pleasure, ill view, restlessness, love and thoughtful, and doubts. Okay? So this will be the quality of the mind. But it's easier said than done. Okay. Usually in meditation, these five hindrances come out by itself. Okay? It's because of our previous tendencies, our conditioned mind. Okay. Because we are so used to sensual pleasure, we want comfort, we don't want discomfort. Okay. So there is always this attachment to sensual pleasure. We have this ill will, okay, ill will or hatred or like and dislike of things, and this will arise, okay, during the course of meditation, which actually takes us away from the state of samadhi. Right? Restlessness, which is very common. For example, when you meditate, you have thoughts, arising, okay, every now and then, because we are so used to thinking. Okay? From the moment you wake up, until you sleep, you most of the time you'll be thinking, okay? Thinking, and even when you meditate, thoughts arise. Okay? So these are the things that again takes us away from samadhi. Sloth and thoughtful. Sometimes you're so calm in your practice, of mindfulness, your mind goes into a state of dullness and sleepiness, which is also very common. Okay? When there's not enough effort or energy in the mind, okay, the mind tends to relax and goes into sloth and thoughtful. So instead of meditating, you'll be sitting there sleeping, and by the time the bell ring, you just wake up from your sleep instead of from your meditation. Then there's also these doubts, okay? Doubts whether, you're practicing thing correctly, whether, what you do is correct, the method, okay? Your experience, how come other people is so calm and you cannot be so calm? You're doubtful whether you're doing it correctly. So these doubts also give rise to restlessness of, in your practice. So, as I said earlier, not only we develop samadhi, okay, we need to develop wisdom. Okay, so wisdom is developed in the presence of reality. The success of meditation practice depends on living a life of generosity and kindness, moral restraint, and continued effort to be awake and aware in our daily life. So that means, as I said earlier, wisdom is not only through meditation, but also through the practice of morality and generosity. That means dana and sila is part of the practice of wisdom. And mindfulness actually leads to samadhi, as I said earlier. And through samadhi, you develop clear comprehension, which leads you to wise reflection and wisdom. Okay. Now, how does this wisdom arise? Wisdom reveals the deep interrelatedness of unsatisfactoriness, impermanence, and non-self. So we develop this knowledge, okay, of seeing things in a special way through our clear comprehension. That is what we call vipassana. Vipassana means seeing things in a special way. That means you can see the characteristics of phenomena. That means things that arises are unsatisfactory, impermanent, and non-self. It has these three characteristics. Okay. So it takes a clear mind of wisdom, okay, what we call satipanya, mindfulness and wisdom to be able to develop this clear insight. So through wisdom, we are able to see the defilements that arise. Okay? So when the defilement arises, it is not you that eradicate the defilements, but it's the wisdom that does the job. When you are continuously aware, wisdom or insight unfolds naturally. It is a battle between wisdom and defilement. So every now and then, if you watch the mind, this defilement arises, and you need wisdom to overcome it. So one developed the insight of seeing things as they really are by seeing as unsatisfactory, impermanence, and non-self. For example, when anger arises, okay, unless you know that anger is something that is unwholesome, you will not let go of the anger, right? Because when anger arises, normally the mind will try to justify, okay, that you have the right to be angry, or somebody has done something unfair, okay, has said the wrong thing against you or blame you. That's why anger arises, right? And we always blame the external, okay, conditions that give rise to the anger. Yes, in a way is true, okay, but the anger arises within the mind, okay. You can choose, actually, there's a choice, okay. If you have clear comprehension or wisdom, actually you have a choice, either to be angry or not to be angry, right? Because these are external factors, okay, which causes, yes, it causes the arising, but it's because of the existence of attachment to the to self, okay, that that the anger arises, okay. But if you have the wisdom, you can see the anger as a form of feeling, okay. That means the mindfulness of feelings, right? And if you look at it further, you find that this anger does not stay with you forever, okay. It is impermanent. It has the characteristic of impermanent. It has also the characteristic of unsatisfactoriness, because when you're angry, I don't think you feel good, right? It's suffering. It's not satisfactory, okay. Your mind, your head will be very heavy, your heartbeat will be very fast, your body becomes tense. And this is not a good feeling. Okay? It's not a good feeling to be angry. So it has this character of unsatisfactoriness, impermanence. It doesn't stay forever. You cannot be angry for the whole day, 24 hours a day. It comes and goes. Yeah? It has the characteristic of non-self, because once you take away the self or the ego, okay, then there is no more anger, okay. Just like fire, you blow off the fire, okay, you don't get the heat. And where does the fire go? The fire is, you cannot, you won't know where the fire is, okay. So the fire is there is because of condition. So is anger. Okay? Anger arises because of certain conditions. So we need to develop this wisdom factor to see this defilement, okay. So the more wisdom you have, okay, the more you are able to see this defilement, and slowly you reduce the defilement, okay. You can't eradicate at once, okay. So the anger will subside, okay, but it will come again, okay. Don't worry. Your anger will come back to you again when the conditions are there, for it to arise. But every time it arises, you use your wisdom to look at it. Okay, you use your vipassana knowledge to understand where this anger comes from. Okay, and relate it back to the three characteristics of unsatisfactoriness, impermanence, and non-self. Okay. So in walking the path, okay, we need certain qualities. Yeah? certain qualities like faith in the triple gem. Okay, so like what you did this morning, you are here this morning because you have faith in the triple gem, you have faith in the Buddha, okay, you have faith in the Dhamma, and also you have faith in the Sangha. And we need to practice generosity to reduce our defilements, okay, our selfishness, defilement of selfishness, because it's through generosity that we reduce our attachment, actually, okay, our craving to things, okay. So generosity actually opens the heart and allow us to get rid of our selfishness. On top of that, we need morality, practice of morality. Morality is actually governed by shame and fear. Because of shame and fear, we observe virtues. Okay, we don't want people to know that we do bad things, out of shame. So we practice moral precepts. Also because of fear of consequences. Okay. Because if you understand the law of karma, if you break the precept, it has consequences of unwholesome result. If you observe the precepts, you have good consequences of good wholesome results. Okay. Then the practice of meditation or mental culture through right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Okay. And not forgetting, okay, spiritual friends are very important in our practice because in walking the path, we don't walk alone, okay? Even though the Buddha said, fare lonely like a rhinoceros, okay? Because at the end of the day, you still have to be self-reliant on your own effort towards the path of enlightenment. But along the way, okay, we need to associate with wise people, okay? Wise people who can walk the path together, encourage each other, okay? Some may be faster than you, okay? But some are beside you, okay? Some are also behind you, okay? But wherever they are, okay, these are good association where, people who with wisdom, okay, will be able to guide us, okay, when we stray away from the path, right? So that they can pull us back to the path. Okay? And of course, finally, in all these practices, the final essence that we are looking at is wisdom. Okay? Wisdom or the insight to see things as they really are. Okay? Not see things through our own eyes or what we want it to be, but as they really are. Okay. So this path, as I said, is called the Noble Eightfold Path because it leads you to the 4 stages of sainthood. Okay. So to become enlightened, to become an arahant, you need to go through the 4 stages. First, to be a stream winner or a sotapanna, where you remove wrong views, skeptical doubts, attachment to rites and rituals, these 3 factors. Okay, and once you attain to this level, you only have 7 more lives. You're guaranteed, okay, to be enlightened, but maximum 7 lives. The second stage of sainthood is a Sakadagami, or once returner. You reduce craving for pleasure, evil, and you have 1 more life to live. The third stage is Anagami, never returner, remove craving for sensual pleasure and evil. And finally, the 4th stage of being an Arahant, you remove craving for beautiful formation, craving for formation, pride, restlessness, and ignorance. Right. So you see that there are 10 factors to eradicate towards the path of enlightenment. Okay. So once you become an arahant, there's no more rebirth in the samsaric world, okay, and there's no more suffering, okay, because if there's no birth, there's no sickness, old age, and death. So basically, these are the path to enlightenment, and it needs to be practiced, okay, and looking at the path will not help. Okay? A journey of 1,000 steps always start with the first step. I remember recently, Chao Kun King, he make a tudong trip from Melbourne to Sydney, and it's actually 1,000 kilometers. People would think that, is to walk 1,000 kilometers is not easy or almost impossible, but he managed to do it. Okay? Within about 60 over days, slightly over 60 days, walking about 20 to 25 kilometers a day. And every 5 days, they take a rest, take a break. And there are many lay people who follow him also to the tudong walk. And it needs a lot of patience and endurance. Okay, so walking the path, the Noble Eightfold Path, is also not easy. It needs a lot of patience and endurance. But if you have faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha, and you know that this is a path that you're going to follow, just follow step by step, okay, with mindfulness, with awareness. And as we walk, every day, every step is important, okay. You use the word Buddha, then you will not think of the destination, okay. So even you have to walk 20 to 25 kilometers a day, okay, it is possible, okay. It is possible because your mind is on every step, okay. And every step, you just have to chant Buddha, okay. And before you know it, you're at your destination, okay. So our mind is like that, if you keep looking into the future, okay, and anticipate, then you have a lot of suffering, okay. But you take one step at a time, okay. You watch every step, okay, and be aware of every step, okay. This will guide you to the spiritual journey. So when we walk, we don't care because sometimes we don't know what is in front of us, okay. There could be dangers, okay. But don't worry, the Sangha is the one that leads. So if you have faith in the Sangha, you trust in the Sangha, you just have to walk, okay, and it will lead you to the final destination of liberation. Okay? So may the Noble Eightfold Path be the guide in your spiritual journey. Sadhu, thank you, and hope you grow in the Dhamma.
Right, thank you very much, Brother Baksun, for the Dhamma sharing. We shall now open to the floor for questions. Okay, we have first question here from participant from Facebook, Simon Levy. Where is the mind? Not sure whether it's a proper question or not.
Oh, hey, very good question. Okay, the mind, normally, people will associate the mind with the brain, okay? But if you look at your mind, you find that the mind and the brain is only an organ, okay? So the mind is everywhere, okay? For example, if you may be, actually you are listening to the Dhamma talk now, right? So where is your mind? Okay. Your mind is with the Zoom, right? You're in the Zoom, okay? And Zoom can be anywhere. Okay, and I'm speaking here from Melbourne, okay? So actually your mind is in Melbourne. Okay? So you can be at home, but your mind is thinking of somewhere else. Okay? For example, you think of China, you like to go for a tour because, lockdown, is you sometimes you think, oh, how I wish I can travel. Okay. So you recollect some of your travels in China, So your mind is in China. Okay. Or you can be working from home. Okay. And or you think of your office. Okay. So your mind is in office. So the mind can be anywhere. Okay. So this is the nature of the mind. Mhm. For example, you can be now sitting in your home listening, but you're thinking of something else, and you're not with the thought, So your mind is not here. Okay. So we use meditation actually to train the mind, okay, to bring the mind to our present moment, to the body, okay, and to our feelings, okay, and to practice of mindfulness, we actually bring our mind inwards, okay, towards ourselves. Okay. Or you can project your mind towards other people. When you're speaking to other people, you are with other people. Okay. Or you can project your mind to another place. Okay. So the mind is everywhere. Okay. So the mind is constantly moving. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brother Baksun. Next question from Leong Ji team. How do we know there is such a thing as Nibbana?
Okay, very tough question. Okay, we know there's such a thing as Nibbana. Nibbana is actually not a thing. Okay, it is the unconditioned. Okay. So if you want to describe Nibbana as something, that means you want to imagine as a place, okay, a thing or a place, where enlightened beings dwell. Okay. So the Buddha does not describe Nibbana as in the positive terms. Okay, that it looks like that, it feels like that. No. The Buddha explained Nibbana as the extinction of suffering. Right? That means there's no more suffering, there is no more birth and rebirth. So it's explained in a negative way what it is not rather than what it is. Okay? So if you want to describe what thing it is, you cannot describe it. Even the Buddha did not describe it that way. So again, words are limited. Okay, it's not easy to describe. That's why the Buddha did not describe what Nibbana is. Okay, so it's just like a tortoise. A tortoise can live on on earth. Okay, it can go walk on the earth and also swim in the pond. Okay, so one day the tortoise went to the land and then went back to the pond and he met the fish. And the fish asked the tortoise, "How does land feel like?" So no matter how the tortoise explained to the fish, he will not be able to understand what land is feels like unless the fish goes to the land and feel it. Okay? So this is the analogy given by the Buddha. Okay, it's not a thing. Okay, it's indescribable as well.
Okay, thank you, Brother Baksun, for the clarification. Next question from Tan Yao Lim. Whenever I am aware or conscious, is there where my mind is?
Yes, when you're aware, so you're aware of certain objects. Okay, so that's where your mind is. Okay, that means if you're mindful of your breath, Yes, your mind is with the breath. If you're aware of your feelings, okay, you're with your feelings. Okay. If you're aware of your thoughts, you're with the thoughts. So if your thoughts, you're flying, your thoughts, you're somewhere else, then your mind is where the thoughts are. Yes.
Okay, next question from a participant from Facebook. How do we eradicate anger, sloth, and torpor?
Okay, it's not easy to eradicate anger, but you can watch the anger. Okay? When anger arises, you know it is anger. You know your state of mind. Okay, and when the conditions changes, your anger will subside. Okay, or it may increase depending on the condition. Okay. So what is important is you watch phenomena. Anger is a mental state which can also manifest in the form of body sensation. Okay? So these mental states will arise, abide, and fade eventually. Okay? So this is what we should watch. Okay, and the more you practice, okay, the sharper your mindfulness is, then you will be able to nip anger at its bud. Okay, when it arises. Okay. So how do you watch anger? You eradicate anger is to be mindful, okay, to catch it when it comes. Initially, it's not easy to catch it. Okay, before you know it, you're already angry. Okay. But once you're angry, you watch your body sensation. Okay, how your bodies feel like when you're angry. Okay, do not go and dwell into what are the things that make you angry. So you watch your body sensation, see how it feel when you're angry, how it subside, and the more you are aware of your body, next time you're feeling that feeling arises, you know you're angry. Okay, it's related to your anger. Right? So when it arises again in future, then if you know it's angry and anger is no good, you let it go. Okay, the Atansa used to say, if something is no good, let it go. Okay. If it's good, then allow it to grow. But if something that is no good, just let it go. So if you have this practice, you should be able to see the anger and nip it at the bud, and so that it doesn't manifest in the form of speech or physical actions. Sloth and torpor, again, you need mindfulness, okay, to know when sleepiness comes in, you know the state of mind, it becomes dull. Okay? Then the moment you fall asleep in your meditation, you bring back your attention back to your body again. Okay? So it needs a constant practice to be able to see that. Yeah?
Okay, thank you. Next question from YouTube. I think this question consists of two parts. Let's go to the first one first. Do you think anyone who practices well can attain enlightenment these days? If so, why so?
Yes, the Buddha said that if you follow the Noble Eightfold Path and practice it well, you should be able to be enlightened. Why? Because it is a condition. Okay, everything is conditioned. If you follow the right path, it will lead you to the results. That's why we call it Magga Phala. Magga is a path. Phala is a fruition. If you follow the right path, you will get the right fruit. So as long as you continue to practice, okay, give yourself put in effort, okay, then you should be able to attain enlightenment. Okay, next.
Okay, the second part. Some people think sati is just mindfulness of an object. Other people teach that it's deeper in some way. For instance, that it is awareness of an object without defilement. What do you teach?
Okay, I don't teach. The Buddha teach. Okay, what I'm explaining is what the Buddha taught. So the mindfulness is not only aware of object without defilements. Okay, is awareness of everything that happens to the body and the mind. Okay, that means you can bring mindfulness to anything that the body experience or anything that the mind experience. So whether it is wholesome or unwholesome, it doesn't matter. Okay, but you're aware of it. Okay, so we not only look at wholesome things. Okay, we also look at the unwholesome nature of the mind. Okay, only then we can use our wisdom to eradicate the wisdom, the defilements. Okay, if you only see the good things, that means there's no defilements. Then your mind is already luminous. Okay. The Buddha said the mind in its original state is pure and luminous. It is the defilements that pollutes the mind. Okay. So if you look into your mind, okay, you find that most people, okay, are still worldlings with defilements. So your mindfulness is actually not to watch the good things, but also to watch the defilements. Okay.
Okay, in the interest of time, we will take this final question for this morning. Theistic religion teaches that men suffer because they inherited the original sin committed by the first pair of humans. For us Buddhists, the cause of suffering is due to the three poisons of the mind, namely tanha, dosa, and moha. How to answer when people ask us the source of these three poisons?
Okay, good question. Okay, Buddhists believe that we we have many lives. Okay, before this, so this is not our first existence as a human, but we exist before, and in our previous existence, without knowing the knowledge, without having any Dhamma, okay, it is we have accumulated these three roots of evil, okay, through many lifetime before. Okay. So when people are born in this life, in this present life, they bring along with them these habits, okay, of greed, hatred, and delusion. So of course, the next question is, what is your origin? Okay. The Buddha does not explain to you where is your origin. Okay, it's just like a circle. Okay, when you look at a circle, where is the starting point? Okay? So it's impossible actually to go to the starting point because it's infinite. Okay, because we have existed for trillions of years, through past until the present. Okay? So it's very difficult to look at a fixed origin. Okay? So these defilements actually come through our previous existence, okay, in samsara, okay, which we have picked up, and without the wisdom or the knowledge, we are not able to eradicate it. But now with the understanding of the Noble Eightfold Path, we should be able to do something about it, okay, to understand it, to see it with mindfulness, and put in the effort to practice towards its eradication and liberation. Okay, any more questions?
No, that'll be all for this session.
Anyway, out of the 8 factors, there are 3 factors that are leading factors, okay, which are very important because this will spur the other factors. The 3 factors are right understanding, the first, and right effort and right mindfulness. Okay. So if you have the right understanding of things, okay, coupled with right mindfulness, and of course you need right effort, okay, then it will automatically move you towards the other the other factors of virtue, morality, and also the practice of right thoughts, right speech, and action.